This is the host, and here's 1 minute. 1 minute about Walt Disney, the man who brought us Mickey Mouse, Snow White, Cinderella, and the most magical place on earth. But before all this, he got fired. Not just any job, but his first job at the Kansas City Star newspaper, where an editor reportedly told him, "Walt, you lack imagination. You have no good ideas." So Walt Disney was only 16 years old when he got that unfortunate firing to make ends meet. He enlisted in the Red Cross and headed overseas to serve as a medical illustrator during World War I when he came back home. He got a job at the Kansas City Star. His responsibilities included drawing, painting, doing props, anything related to set design and cartooning. And that was where he met a guy named UB Iwerks. They hit it off right away, and both were assigned to the same department. However, their boss didn't like them working together, so Iwerks transferred to the art department. By day, Disney drew posters for the paper. But by night, he pursued his real passion, animation. He saved up his earnings from the newspaper to launch his own venture. In 1923, he and his brother Roy founded the Laugh-O-Gram Studio. Their first product was a series of animated short films, which they sold to local theaters. Business was decent, but they kept losing money. The overhead was too much. So Disney let go of most of his employees, including Iwerks. Only 2 stayed on, his brother Roy and a guy named Fred Harmon. While other people would have called it quits after such a huge setback, Disney pressed on. The Laugh-O-Gram Studio continued to produce animated shorts. But as competition heated up, so did the stress levels. One day, Disney found himself in hot water. The studio's payroll had bounced, meaning he couldn't pay his employees. Embarrassed and desperate, he tried to make things right. He offered them the opportunity to buy stock in the studio. They refused. And then he offered to pay them back within a month. They agreed, but there was a catch. He didn't repay them by the deadline. They could take over the business. It was either give up or succeed. With a loan from his brother Roy, Disney met his deadline, but this wasn't sustainable. Disney was running on fumes. The Laugh-O-Gram Studio was failing. In fact, it would soon declare bankruptcy. Meanwhile, he was living on practically nothing. Oftentimes, he and his wife would eat beans for dinner. He was sleeping at his office. It was an incredibly difficult time. He felt he had failed everyone, especially himself. But something kept him going, and that something was Mickey Mouse. In late 1927, Disney lost the rights to his earlier character, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. He was so distraught that he considered ending his life. Riding the train home, he began sketching out a new character. This new character would be different. He would wear gloves, and instead of being a rabbit, he was a mouse. The character's name was Mickey, and soon he would debut in Steamboat Willie, which premiered on November 18, 1928. The audience loved it. Mickey's big eyes and even bigger personality captivated everyone. They wanted to see more. In fact, Steamboat Willie became one of the most popular cartoons ever produced. Disney's career was back on track. However, he had no idea the challenges that lay ahead. In 1932, he decided to push the limits. While visiting Germany, he saw a movie called Blanek, which featured the first synchronized sound cartoon. Inspired, he experimented with sound, and his breakthrough came with Flowers and Trees, which became the first Technicolor cartoon to synchronize sound with visuals. Disney had pushed the boundaries of animation again. However, his next project would push him to the edge. In 1934, he announced plans for Snow White, which would become the first full-length animated feature film. People thought he was crazy. No one had ever done this before. Critics attacked the announcement, labeled it Disney's folly. What's he gonna do? Make Snow White talk and dance? Well, yeah, that was the plan. Despite all the negativity, work commenced, and 4 years later, the premiere took place. To everyone's surprise, the critics were blown away. There was no denying the box office success. In fact, it grossed over $8 million in its initial run. That translated to around $150 million in today's money. But behind the scenes, Disney was struggling. During the production of Snow White, he filed for divorce. His marriage was falling apart. By the time the film was finished, it was also clear that animation was becoming a lot more complex. In order to add depth, Disney invented the multi-plane camera, which layered images on transparent planes. This innovation gave his animations realism that hadn't been seen before. But it was also complicated, time-consuming, and expensive. Still, Disney wasn't done. He dreamed of creating a magical world where kids could interact with characters from his films. In other words, he wanted to build a theme park. Well, people thought he was crazy. Back in the 50s, there were no modern-day theme parks. The closest thing was Disneyland, which opened its doors on July 17, 1955. For the first time ever, guests could step inside a fairy tale. Over the years, Disney expanded his offerings through various partnerships. He acquired companies, bought popular franchises, and diversified into live-action films. Today, Disney stands as the world's largest entertainment company. They own Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, ESPN, and so much more. Walt Disney changed the entertainment industry forever. Takeaway no. 1. Failure isn't the end. It's part of the process. Think about it. Without the setbacks, Disney wouldn't have invented the multiplane camera or created Disneyland. Many of his best creations came after failure. Takeaway no. 2. Being misunderstood doesn't mean you're wrong. When Disney got fired, he likely felt disheartened. It's tough to hear negative feedback. But instead of giving up, he pressed on. He realized that sometimes we need to fail forward. Takeaway no. 3. Rejection often redirects us to our real path. When the Laugh-O-Gram studio went bankrupt, it forced Disney to make a decision. Either quit or figure it out. That redirection led to Mickey Mouse, and the rest is history. Takeaway no. For creativity isn't about fitting in, it's about standing out. This goes back to when Disney got fired. Instead of taking the feedback and improving in the same area, he shifted to animation where he could truly shine. And finally, takeaway no. 5. If you can dream it, you can do it. These were Walt Disney's words. Don't let anyone tell you that something is impossible. Remember Walt Disney.